Welcome to my channel, I'm Gary Wuryawan, and today we're gonna talk about how to create a modern rock tone using Bias FX2 Mobile on iPad. Let's go! Before we continue with today's video, this is just a quick reminder for you to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. Thank you, and let's continue with the video. So yeah, today we're gonna create a modern rock guitar tone using Bias FX2 Mobile as well as Bias Amp for iPad that sounds like this. And yeah, as you can hear, the tone is warm enough, but it has enough clarity. It is very dynamic, so if you play hard, it's gonna go harder. If you play soft, it's gonna play cleaner. And it's not too biting, it's not too harsh. It's the kind of perfect tone that you can use for any kind of different song that requires crunchy, distorted guitar sound. So without further ado, let's start with the tutorial. Let's go! Alright, so welcome to this perspective. So as you can see, I already set up my iPad. I'm sorry for the cheesy props. I just don't want you to look into, kind of a messy situation with all the cables around. I want to make it look a little bit prettier. And yeah, so basically this tone is a kind of modern rock sound, a distorted, crunchy kind of amplifier sound, a Marshall kind of tone, but with a little bit of warmth and roundedness, so that it's not too harsh and you can use it for a lot of different applications. So the main point with this tone is that it has enough hair, it distorts enough, but you can actually kind of still hear a little bit of dynamic in your playing. So if you roll down your volume knob, it's gonna sound almost like a clean sound, but if you are turning the volume all the way up and you pick hard enough, it's gonna start to sound crunchy and just pleasant, that kind of distorted rock sound. And for this tone, you're gonna need the Bias FX Mobile or Bias FX2 Mobile, whatever version that you have, and Bias Amp 2. So you're gonna need both of those to make this work. So okay, and for the demonstration, I'm using this custom guitar of mine. This is actually a custom Stratocaster 24 fret with humbucker single configuration. So as you can see right there, that's my guitar. And now let's start creating the tone. Okay, let's go to Bias FX2. Alright, so right now I have a random patch. It's actually a factory preset that, sounds like this. And I'm not going to use any of the components of the Bias FX of this actual preset, so I'm going to change it into what I want to show you. So yeah, I'm going to delete one by one all of the components right here. So let's press delete. Alright. Alright, so you end up with just the amp and the cabinet, and we're not going to use that particular amp. We're gonna actually use Bias Amp so that we can further modify the components of the amplifier itself. We're gonna modify the preamp section, the panel section, the power amp section, as well as the cabinet, especially the cabinet, because there's a lot of adjustment that we need to do on the cabinet to make it sound, rounded and not too harsh. So let's do that right now. We're gonna replace the amplifier. And yeah, speaking of modern rock, actually we're gonna use a vintage amp, Marshall JTM45. So let's try to find that in the crunch. So yeah, here we go. We have the overdriven JM45. I think that's an emulation of the Marshall JTM45. And here's how it sounds without any tweaking, just the JM45, as they say. It sounds okay, but it's too harsh for our application. So we're gonna modify it in Bias Amp. So let's just press this icon right here to go to Bias Amp. And yeah, here's how it sounds in Bias Amp. So bear with me a little bit, because in Bias Amp it's gonna sound a little bit louder than in Bias FX. So that's how it sounds, and I think there's a lot of adjustment that needs to be made. So first, on the main panel here, I'm gonna reduce a little bit of the presence, also the treble. No, not too much of the treble. I'm gonna keep the middle right there, and I'm gonna reduce the bass. I'm gonna increase a little bit of the gain because, you know, to give it a little bit of a hair, you know. And here's how it sounds with the adjustment. Yeah, it sounds okay, but I'm gonna make it smoother and less harsh, you know. Let's do that. Let's go to the preamp section. We're gonna adjust some things right here. Alright, so the bright switch is now switched to normal, and that's what I want. I want to increase a little bit of the high cut off so that it cut off, you know, sooner, like about 7,000, and the low cut off to about, you know, maybe 110 or something like that. Yeah, thereabout. I'm gonna, you know, reduce the low shelf on the pre-EQ, increase the mid just a little bit. I'm gonna let the high shelf to be about noon, but just boost it a little bit. All right, somewhere around there. All right, that looks good to me. And now I'm gonna reduce the low shelf here so that we don't hear too much bass. Increase the mid just a little bit and reduce the high shelf to about noon. And here's how it sounds. So that's how it sounds. It sounds okay, but there's some adjustment that we'll need to make. Oh, and also we're gonna remove the amp match feature on the bias amp. That's you know, the default setting from the bias FX. So let's just drag that up, and that's turned off right now. And here's how it sounds. Yeah, that's kind of the sound that I want to hear. You know, it's closer to what I have in mind right now. Let's go to power amp. We're gonna skip tone stack because I don't think we have to tweak anything there. I'm gonna just, you know, switch this to vintage and add a little bit of presence to compensate for that. It's gonna sound warmer now. Yeah, it sounds okay now. It's almost there, almost there. We're pretty close now, and let's check the other settings. I don't think we need to mess with that. The preamp, the power amp tube is already correct. It's 6L6, so it's gonna sound a little bit of American, you know, but on the transformer setting, we're gonna keep it to British style. So yeah, with the compression, we're gonna do a little bit of adjustment. We're gonna reduce the release. I don't want to compress the notes for too long. I think the attack is already correct. Just increasing a little bit of the ratio so that it's compressing a little bit harder than what it's supposed to be. And let's check the sound. There's two ways to check the sound with compression. So first is we're gonna play long single notes, you know, checking the sustain. And then the second checking is we're gonna play very short notes, staccato kind of notes, percussive kind of notes, so that we can check the pick attack. So let's do the long note first and see how it sustains. Yeah, I think sustain is already there, so it's not a problem. Let's check with the staccato. Oh, by the way, I'm using the neck pickup of the guitar, so it's a single coil on the neck. Now I'm gonna switch to neck and middle, 4th position, to check on the staccato riff. Yeah, it sounds good. You can hear the chaka chaka kind of sound, the pick attack kind of sound when I strum the strings. So yeah, it's good sound. So yeah, that's what I want. And now let's go to the cabinet setting. This is where all the adjustments that I want to do will happen. So let's add a second mic. We're gonna add the Royer 121 simulation. It's called R121 right here. And Now let's hear the difference of the sound. I'm switching back to the neck pickup again. And already you can tell too much bass, right? So we're gonna compensate by that by doing a couple of different things. First, I'm gonna switch the cabinet to a different model. I'm a big fan of Mesa Boogie 4x12 kind of, tread plate cabinet, and we're gonna switch to that because it sounds tighter, in my opinion, more suited towards modern kind of rock guitar sound. So let's hear the difference. So that's how it sounds using the rectifier, and I'm still gonna do a little bit more adjustment. I'm gonna, move back the Royer a little bit to the back. I don't know if you can do this in real life, like putting two mics together in that position. I think it's gonna create phase issue in real life, but this is all simulation, so I don't really care about that. So yeah, let's also reduce the volume of the Royer a little bit. That's mic 2. We're gonna reduce the volume just a little bit, and also mic 1, maybe just a tiny bit, not too much. Alright, and this is how it sounds on neck pick. Alright, so by reducing the volume of the Royer, we can control a little bit of that, boominess on the low end. So it now sounds a little bit more focused and balanced and tight. So let's switch to the bridge pickup to hear how it sounds when you're playing, like with a humbucker with a loud pickup. Alright, here it goes. Yeah, it sounds good. Alright, this is pretty close to what I have in mind. We can tweak this forever, but this is just like tone chasing in circle. So I'm just gonna stop right there and do a few more adjustments in the bias effects instead, okay? I'm quite happy with how it sounds. So let's go to bias effects. We're done with the setting of the amplifier here. Alright, so here's how the amp sounds. So in the bias effects, it's a little bit quieter. I don't know what happens with the output setting or something, but it's, it's fine. We can live with that. So here's the cool trick that I want to show you using this setting of the amplifier. If you switch to a single coil pickup and then you use, or like combining between the neck and the middle or the middle with the bridge, and you roll down the volume of your guitar, you'll end up with a clean sound that's pretty pleasing. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna reduce the volume a little bit so you can hear, and it'll turn into a cleanish kind of guitar sound. So as you can hear, it sounds, almost clean, but not too clean. And it's kind of what I like, and I really appreciate that kind of versatility. Just by using one preset, you can get two different kind of voice. So to compensate for the lack of volume, I'm going to increase the master volume a little bit to, add a little bit of volume. So let's test that clean sound again. I'm going to reduce the volume. Let's test the sustain. Alright, sustain is sounding pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. So now we're gonna enhance this amplifier by adding a little bit of effects to it. Alright, so first effect that I'm gonna add is, a noise gate. This is just to kill a little bit of the noise that's, maybe coming from your guitar, or maybe from the bad electricity on the venue or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna reduce the release. Also, I'm reducing the threshold and the sensitivity as well. This is just to catch the noise rather than killing your dynamic when you're playing. It's not gonna affect the sound at all. Alright, so that's how it sounds, and I'm also gonna introduce a tube screamer to this setup, so that if you're playing lead sound or you're playing some kind of melody or guitar solo, you're gonna be a little bit louder than normal, and also you're gonna have a little bit more grit and hair, so that your note stays a little bit longer, and that's what I like. Alright, so I'm gonna reduce the drive. We don't really need the drive, and also the tone, not too much to make it smoother, maybe around here, but I'm gonna increase the level just a little bit. And yeah, what it'll do, it's gonna introduce a little bit more gain and clarity. And this is without the tube screamer. And with the tube screamer, it's gonna sound more aggressive, So yeah, that's the kind of sound that I like when playing lead, You have more sustain. It sounds pretty aggressive, and it has enough gain so that you'll be able to play, those kind of lead stuff. And yeah, other effects that I'm gonna introduce is reverb. So this is optional. I just like to add a little bit of reverb to my guitar, especially when I'm playing live, so that it doesn't sound too dry. So we're gonna select the room mode. This is just a standard digital reverb from Bass FX, and I'm gonna reduce the length a little bit. I'm gonna reduce the tone. I don't want to add a little bit of harshness because of the reverb. And let's check how it sounds using that note. Alright, not too much of a reverb, but you can definitely feel that it's there. Let's check how it sounds. Alright, it sounds good enough for me. So there you have it. This is the actual patch. I'm gonna demonstrate later using full mix, like using drums and bass, how it sounds in the context of a mix. But right now I'm gonna demonstrate it to you, just how it sounds by itself, alright? So that's how it sounds using bridge pickup with the humbucker and with the tube screamer turned on. Now we're gonna turn off the tube screamer, and you're gonna hear how it sounds on the bridge pickup again. So this is actually really good for those big open chords, like this. Those kind of sound, it sounds pretty good with this setting. And now, still on the same patch, I'm gonna switch to neck pickup so you can hear how it sounds for both rhythm and lead. So let's do that. So that's how it sounds in rhythm. Now let's play a little bit of lead kind of thing. Alright, it sounds pretty good, right? And now I'm gonna demonstrate again the clean sound by rolling down the volume knob on my guitar, and I'm gonna switch to the neck and middle combination, 4th position. So here we go. I'm gonna demonstrate the clean sound. So yeah, it sounds almost clean, but not too clean. So you still have a little bit of the dirt, but it sounds clear enough so that you can use it for those kind of clean parts, you know. You can maybe add delay or chorus to it, and it'll sound like, you know, a proper clean sound. So how if we try that? All right, so let's add chorus and delay to make it sound like a totally clean sound. All right, we're gonna use a chorus, this one, chorus 1. I'm gonna put it right here before the overdrive, and I'm gonna, yeah, I think this sounds good already. A little bit of the depth and increase the rate. And now let's add delay so that we can, you know, have a little bit of wetness to the sound. We're just gonna use a regular delay right here. I'm gonna put it after the cabinet before the reverb. I'm gonna reduce a little bit of the time. I'm aiming about 400 milliseconds, not too much of a feedback. I'm gonna increase a little bit of the tone, but not too much. Let's keep it like that. And yeah, it can sound almost like a, you know, clean tone. So that you already know how to set it up, now let's start to use this patch on a real mix. So I'm gonna play with bass and drum as well, so you can hear how it sounds in a full mix. Let's go. So that is all for today's video. I hope that you find this video to be useful. Please comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions about the tone. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. Thank you and goodbye.